Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I am Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, please do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. And if you have not done so already, there are too many of you tuned in, but help us beat the algorithm. Whatever platform you're on, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, WhatsApp groups, whatever. Make sure that you invite as many people as you know to be a part of these community conversations. Without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to a very special guest. We've got past winner of the Bermuda Day Sinclair Packwood Memorial Cycle Race, Darren Glasford, coming on. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. Welcome.
Morning, Bermuda, morning, Jamel and Maya.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Yeah, I gotta ask you. I know you have a dog because when we were doing like the pre-show, I heard some action in the background, like the dog wanted to be a part of the show. But you got to tell us, like, what kind of dog? What's your dog name?
Yeah, I got a old English bulldog named Zeus.
Okay.
Weighs 86 pounds. I had to take him outside because it's probably gonna make some noise at the wrong time.
He wants to be a part of the show. Zeus is a scary name, so I think I'll keep my distance with Zeus. But it is National Rescue Dog Day. But let's get into the conversation. First of all, thank you for making time for us and doing this and coming to engage with us. But it only makes sense. It's only right to speak about this most important part of our Bermuda Day and Heritage Month traditions. But before we jump into the actual race itself, I've known you for a long time, and I don't always remember you being into cycling the way you got into it. How did you get into cycling?
Yeah, so as a police officer, it was in the road I was in. I had to keep a high level of fitness, and Clifford Roberts and a few other guys were always telling me, "Shaky, get a bike, get a bike, get a bike." And eventually, my boss was sat on a bike. I bought the bike, and then I went out with Brian Dickinson and Vic Bull, who were very established cyclists back then. They started up Crime Stoppers. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget my first training ride. I was straight out the back, and I thought I was fit. Mm-hmm. And then they convinced me to do the Bermuda Day race because I started cycling in 2006. I was 36 years old. I wasn't going to do the Bermuda Day race. They convinced me to do it. I was holding on for dear life, and I finished in town with the pack. Mm-hmm. But the adrenaline rush that I got from racing Bermuda Day, the adrenaline rush, and that was it. I was committed to cycling, and that was 2006, and here we are.
And it's interesting you started at 36. I mean, I don't know how age wise, but when you look at some of the past winners, traditionally they've been a bit younger than that in terms of when they've started. But let's speak about the Heritage Day Cycle Race. Originally, it's kind of only existed as part of formally since 1987, right? Speak to us about its beginnings.
Yeah, so at the beginning part, it was Sinclair Packwood and a lot of cyclists were trying to make this a part of the Bermuda Day, and they weren't allowed to race. The police were giving them a hard time, and so it was more of like I guess a procession. And then in 1987 was the actual first official race, and that's when Bermuda Day race started. But prior to that, it was not really a race, and that was the start in 1987.
Audience, if you have any questions, please send them through. We'll get through as many questions and comments as possible. It's interesting. Sinclair Packwood was, as you just mentioned, instrumental in establishing this race. What led to the decision to rename the event in his honor after his untimely passing in 1999?
Yeah, not only was Sinclair Packwood a avid racer, was known to be a sprinter. He was very much involved in the development of cycling in Bermuda, and he fought to get this race permitted to be allowed. And in 1998, he passed away, and it was decided to name the race after him. And now it's known as the Sinclair Packwood Memorial Race, and he did win it a few times as well.
Yeah, fitting for him. you've won the race, you've participated. You know, describe some of the unique challenges that riders face during that race, such as the layout and weather conditions.
Yeah, so I mean, it's if you ever seen a race, the cyclists are really close together, traveling at high speeds. You know, guys are touching each other, wheels are touching. Every so often, you have a crash, and you know the race is very dynamic, changes in an instant. If it's wet, some people don't like riding in the wet. Some people ride better in the wet. So there's a lot of skills involved. It's not necessarily just who's the fittest. It's a lot of tactics involved, a lot of bike handling involved, and then it comes down to the type of rider that you are. So some guys go uphill really quick because they're light. Some guys can hold a high pace for a long distance, and some guys are near the sprinters. I like to say if you looked at a track, all the track events
Mhm.
from sprinting to the 5,000 meters, then that's what a bike race is. All these people in the bike race have different skills, and it's about trying to use your skill
Mhm.
with the tactics in order to be in, or to help one of your teammates to be in too, because a lot of times it's a team sport.
Mhm. It's interesting just thinking about how you got into it, like being a police officer, just a level of fitness, and then it became something you took serious and won what many would consider the big race in Bermuda. But what goes into training for a race like this, specifically for a person like yourself? Like, how did you prepare, or what did you employ differently in 2011, which I believe is the year you won, versus other years? What happened that year? What went right for you that year?
Yeah, so I mean, when you first get into cycling, into any sport, it takes a while to develop. And I joined Venezuela in 2008. And Greg Hopkins was, doing a lot of the coaching and training rides for the Venezuela team, and developed. But the unique thing about the difference about cycling is that our race season is from April to October, but guys never really stop riding. So you might take 2 weeks or a month off at the end of the season, but in November, guys start training again. You start training, and we really don't really train for Bermuda Day. We train for the bike season, like national championships. So Bermuda Day is like 12-mile race, where national championships can be a 65-mile race.
Mm,
So I wouldn't say there's any specific training for Bermuda Day. Is specific training to race throughout the season. And then because Bermuda Day is such a short race, it's probably the most unique bike race in the world
mm,
because it's 12 miles. We just had a race last weekend. It was 47 miles, and most guys rode to the race, raced, and then rode home.
mm,
When this race is 12 miles, so it's a little bit, the dynamics are a bit different because guys can stay fresher longer, where
mhm,
it's not required for this long endurance. So for training wise, for Bermuda Day, um, it's not much that we actually do differently. We might ride the course.
mhm,
And then what happened in 2011, the year I won, I guess, I was obviously getting a lot fitter. And I remember, I'm probably, if I had to put myself in a category, I would probably say I'm known to be a sprinter.
mhm,
Sinclair Packwood was known to be a sprinter.
mhm,
So we kind of, we have to make it to the finish in order to win the race. And Greg Hopkins says, Shaky, go down to the finish line on Cedar Avenue and see where the line is. That's the night before the race. Go
mm,
see where the finish line is. And that night, positive thoughts. I told myself the night before that I'm going to win the race tomorrow. That's what I told
mm,
myself. Um, and then it was just making the right decisions tactic wise. And I knew I had a pretty good cornering skills. So at City Hall, I kind of jumped, and my goal was to go through that top corner as fast as I could, because I know I'm going to open up a gap. And that's what happened. And then I was able to hold it off to the finish. If you saw the finish, I wasn't even standing up because I was what we call full gas.
mhm,
And I also want to say that's the year that Dominique Mayo came second,
mhm.
and he was a junior. Um, so yeah, that's what I done differently. Is it's about the mindset in any sport, and I just told myself I was going to win the race, and that's what happened.
Indeed, indeed. Sticking to the race now. I didn't know that the women's category has only been in existence since 2007. And I think we've had challenges with getting women to participate. Like, how can we get more women to participate in the cycle race going forward?
Yeah, I think what if I go back to growing up, I didn't know nothing about bike racing. I didn't even know it existed.
Mhm.
Hence the reason why I started so late. So in the last few years, the BBS have done a really good job in trying to encourage more women cyclists. They have a women category to encourage more women cyclists so they can race by themselves. Um, but this year, it just seems like the numbers are low. I'm not really sure why. But if any
Mhm.
females are out there that are looking to race and you have a bike, we're encouraging you to sign up. But it's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
a challenge.
Okay. And what else can the public do to help this year's race? Like, is there anything that we can do to help grow this race? As people always say, the run, I guess because it's so much older, like the Bermuda Day Half Marathon is so much older, like older than the parade. What can we do to help grow the Sinclair Packwood Memorial Race?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, the BBA has a very long season. They have a junior program for any upcoming cyclists.
Mhm.
And they also like throughout we have novice categories, so anybody that's new into racing.
Mhm.
There's group rides throughout on the weekends particularly, and it's a very community orientated sport. People always looking out for each other, even when little kids 12, 13 years old riding with us, someone's always looking out for them. On the day of the race, we are looking for volunteers because we have to ensure that the course is safe. So we are looking for volunteers, particularly if you're down the east.
Mhm.
So we will have a contact number for you to contact. You can see that at the bottom of the screen. And then the other thing I would say is that at times the riders are doing over 40 miles an hour,
Mhm.
and everybody wants to watch the race, but you're stepping out into the road, or you're hanging out into the road, and especially when we come into these areas where are heavy populated, or once we get into the city where we're going around those 90-degree corners, and that's the finish. So guys are going really, really fast. So we're really pleading to the public to like don't step into the road because it can be quite dangerous. If you catch a rider, you can end up taking down half the field.
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of keep the road clear, make sure you hold your animals and your young kids because we do travel at some really, really high speeds.
Mhm. Let's go to the audience. We've got quite a few questions, but also audience, well, keep that at the bottom of the screen. Volunteers are needed for this Friday's race. So please contact Leslie at 505-7949. Of course, the area code's 441. But Charles H. Jefferson Sachs has got a question. From a rider's perspective, is it easier coming out of the east or west?
Right. So that's going to depend on what type of rider you are. So I personally don't like the East because it has a lot of hills, and like I said, I will be classified as a sprinter. So it depends on what type of rider you are, which one you like, because power to weight ratio. If you weigh a little bit more than somebody else, the hills not going to be your friend. So another type of rider may say they like they coming out of the East. So that's what determines that.
All righty. Renee Simmons says, who has won the majority of this race of the years? We know, we always know of the runners, but the record holders for the cycling, we don't hear much. I know Dominic Mayo must be a record holder by now. I think he has 6, if I'm not mistaken. So he probably is the top.
Yep, Dominic is the man. Also, Chris Hedges has quite a few. Wayne Scott. But yeah, Dominic's definitely the man. But I believe he's running this year, so it opens the door for someone else to win the race.
Indeed, indeed. WKD Llama's got a question asking, since it's only 12 miles, why don't the riders push hard from the start instead of riding in a pack?
Yeah, good question. We get that a lot. So it's not like running. Cycling, drafting plays a really, really big part. And I would say sometimes you think we're not pushing, but I remember the year Connor White, Caden Hopkins, and the young boys that are racing internationally were here. The race was ridiculously fast from the start. But it's no sense you sitting on the front of the race, driving the pace, and somebody sitting in your draft because they're gonna stay fresher. So then when you make it to turn, you're gonna lose the race. So unless you get in a breakaway, which has happened a few times, and that means guys break away from the pack and don't get caught. If you don't get in a breakaway, it's kind of difficult if people are sitting, what we call sitting on your wheel in the draft. And all forms of motorsports, the draft is real. I think they determine you save about 30% energy. So that's why you don't see somebody at the front driving. They're not going to stay on the front the whole way out of St. George's. You might have a lot of team tactics where guys drive the pace, but nobody's staying at the front with everybody sitting behind them in the draft.
Indeed, indeed. For those new to cycling, you know, someone just saying, you know what, I want to do it. I want to probably participate. What advice would you give to them to help them get started and stay motivated?
Well, first thing is you gotta get a bike, and you gotta start riding. So the only way to get good on your bike is to actually ride the bike. And like I said, the BBA is very supportive of getting new riders into the sport of cycling. If anybody wants, they can contact me if they're interested, and I can point them in the right direction. But to get better, you just have, the base one is ride your bike first. And then obviously you can move if you get to the higher levels, you start getting the coach and stuff and things like that. But riding your bike is probably the most important part.
Indeed. Gotta ask you, without bias, who are some of the favorites for this year's race?
Yeah, so Matt Boyce, who won last year, he actually broke away from the pack last year. He is definitely one of the favorites. But I would say Dominic Mayo's team, VT Construction, they have some really, really strong guys. Jackson Langley, Steven Smith, Brian Drea. So tactics-wise, Matt, they can still give Matt a go. And then you got some of the young juniors like Dylan Isaac. I think Wayne Scott's racing again for the first time for a while. So if it comes down to team tactics, VT Construction will be the ones that's going to put Matt Boyce under pressure, but he'll probably be the favorite.
Someone finally asked this. I didn't want to be the controversial person to ask this, but appreciate Dorian. But the state of our roads, how does that impact the racing? Do potholes cause challenges? I was trying not to ask it, so I'm really happy somebody in the audience came with it.
Yeah, if you speak to any cyclist, like if you drive a car or ride a motorbike to work, you have shocks, and you are all complaining about potholes. A cyclist does not have any shocks. So we hate the potholes. We hate the state of the roads. We can't wait till the paved. And I believe it was one year it rained, and we was really concerned about coming. It was the year we came out of the east. Not last year, but the year before that, it rained, and the roads were really in a bad condition. But Roxanne Engineering repaired a lot of the potholes because it does two things. It either causes you to get a puncture, causes you to crash, or it could cause you to cause somebody else to crash. So yeah, we don't like the potholes at all. Not even, and the smallest pothole makes a difference for us.
Are you racing this year?
I haven't 100% made up my mind because I haven't been riding my bike for a little while. But we'll make up I'll make up a decision in the next couple of days. Still a few days to sign up.
All righty. So folks, you can still sign up. It's not like the half marathon where sign up was done already. Again, volunteers, if you're you have time and you're able to, they are still looking for volunteers. Please contact Leslie at 505-7949. Any words you want to say to the Bermudian public as we celebrate this Bermuda Day with all that's been happening in Bermuda before we head out?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most favorite holidays. It's very community oriented. Let's keep everybody safe through the holidays. Let's cheer on all the spectators in the running race, in the cycle race, and as well as in the parade. And let's make it a good day. Hopefully the weather cooperates, and the BBA is always looking for a few more cyclists.
Let's get the women out. Darren Shaky Glasford, thank you so much for making time for us, coming to engage. All the best if you participate, and if not, hey, hopefully you can volunteer.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one. Talk soon.
All right.
All right, folks, if you appreciated the conversation, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Do not, whatever you do not miss the race. It sounds like it's going to be exciting. He put some names out there. The tactics part was interesting to me. It reminds me, that's what they try to do in NASCAR. They have teams, right? And I just thought, people just drove fast around the track until I got older. I was a teen, and I'm like, oh, there's teammates, there's tactics, there's ways to help someone else win. It's not like every man for itself because it's an individual sport. You sometimes think that. So interesting to see or to hear what he shared this morning. But folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we have a, how can I put it? We have a trivia question that reflects today's conversation. How's that? We have a trivia question that reflects today's conversation. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere.